Hi, everybody, and welcome to Lovefraud Live. Great sex. Many people who have slept with a sociopath say it was the best sex they ever had. But there's a price to pay, and it could be steep. I'm Donna Anderson, author of Lovefraud.com and host of the True Love Fraud Stories podcast. Tonight, I'll explain an important warning sign of a sociopath: sexual magnetism. At the end of my short presentation, I'll answer your questions. So, let's get started. I wrote a book called Red Flags of Love Fraud: 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath. It was based on a survey of 1,352 love fraud readers who described romantic relationships with people whom they believed were sociopaths. 78% of respondents said sexual magnetism was characteristic of their relationship. Why is that? Well, first of all, sociopaths are hardwired for sex. Secondly, sociopaths are frequently good lovers. People who have had sex with sociopaths almost always rave about it. One survey respondent wrote, "Swept me off my feet in the most intense sexual experience." The sentiment was repeated over and over again. So I asked my survey respondents to rate their experience, and here's what they said. 30% said it was extraordinary. 15% said it was satisfying. 6% said it was dissatisfying. 30% said at first satisfying and later dissatisfying. And then 12% said he or she was satisfied, but I was not. 4% said the sex was abusive, and 3% said not applicable. These responses show that 75% of survey respondents rated the sex as satisfying or more than satisfying, at least in the beginning of the relationship. So, why are sociopaths so hot in bed? Well, first of all, they're born that way. Sociopaths have a lot of energy. They crave excitement and stimulation. It's an integral part of the disorder. They're always looking for the next thrill. Sex, of course, is one of the most stimulating activities that you can enjoy. So sociopaths want it. They want it early and often. They start young and engage frequently. Now, the flip side of relishing excitement is that sociopaths get bored easily. So, although conventional sex with a steady partner is okay for a while, what they really want is variety in their partners and sexual experiences. So, they push the boundaries of what their partners find acceptable. If the partners won't do what the sociopaths want, they find someone who will. And when normal sex is no longer interesting, they seek the taboo. And they seek aggressively. All sociopaths, both male and female, have high levels of testosterone. This hormone drives people to compete for sex partners and then mate with them. In sociopaths, high testosterone means high pursuit of sex. Here's another way in which sociopaths are hardwired for sex. Besides craving excitement, they are also born without fear or shame. Consequently, they fail to develop guilt, inhibitions, a conscience, or a sense of morality. Social proscriptions against particular acts mean nothing to them. They don't care about the discomfort of their partners either. So, what does all this mean for sociopaths and sex? They have voracious appetites, they get a lot of practice, and anything goes. In pursuit of their desires of the moment, some engage in coercive sex, including rape. In today's society, most people make their own decisions about what they want out of sex. And if people enjoy activities that are different from the typical and their partners agree, that's fine, as long as everyone involved is a consenting adult. But when individuals are not honest about their proclivities and desires and engage in behaviors surreptitiously, unknowing partners are betrayed and damaged. And due to sexually transmitted diseases, their health and very lives are at risk. This is what I experienced. While seducing me, my sociopathic ex-husband, James Montgomery, admitted that he cheated on previous romantic partners and had sexual relations with many, many women. But after meeting me, he declared, he was certain that he would never feel the need to stray again. And before we were ever intimate, I asked Montgomery if he had been tested for AIDS. He claimed that he had tested negative. And then he added, "There's not a gay bone in my body." Well, he lied. When I left him after 2.5 years, I learned a lot about his sexual activities. Here's what he did. He had sex with at least 6 different women during our relationship. He was heavily into internet porn. He solicited gay male prostitutes. He tried to arrange threesomes and looked for swinging couples. He advertised online for sex. He wrote that he was jaded about sex with women and wanted a man who wanted to experience sex like a woman, the thrill of the totally forbidden. And he was not tested for AIDS. While we were married and believing that my husband was monogamous, I consented to unprotected sex. I did not consent to the risk that I was subjected to due to his cheating. In the Lovefraud Romantic Partner Survey, many respondents reported that their sociopathic partners were deceptive about sex. And here's what they said. 75% of respondents said that their partners cheated on them. 46% found out that the individuals were secretly into pornography. 40% said that the sociopath's sexual demands made them uncomfortable. And 20% became infected with a sexually transmitted disease. Now, the problem with deception, of course, is that you don't know you're being deceived. So you may believe that your earth-shattering sexual experience is a sign of true love. If you are attracted to Mr. or Ms. Right and you feel the pleasure of having your interest reciprocated, you form a love bond. And then you experience all the psychological and biological effects of attachment, even if the object of your affections is a sociopath who is just toying with you. My colleague, Dr. Leanne Leadham, points out that sociopaths and psychopaths are con artists. They entice others to form attachments through deception and trickery. The problem is that our unconscious minds do not distinguish between attachments made after deception and those that are made legitimately. So, the sociopath says, "I love you," and you believe it. The experience is very real to you. You form a love bond, and your brain is rewired, even though the sociopath doesn't love you at all. So, that's the presentation for tonight. If you want in-depth advice for your own situation, I do offer personal consultations. I can help you with your emotional recovery through guided mindfulness and Reiki. I also want to make sure you know about my other podcast, True Lovefraud Stories. I interview people about their experiences with sociopaths, and then I talk to experts on topics that come up during the stories. You can listen wherever you get your podcast, or on YouTube and YouTube Music, or at lovefraud.com/podcasts. So please subscribe to Lovefraud Live. When you subscribe, you'll automatically be notified about all my new videos. Plus, by subscribing, you'll boost the distribution of Lovefraud Live. So you'll help to spread the word about the dangerous sociopaths who live among us. If you want more information, you can also subscribe to the Lovefraud newsletter. You'll find many helpful links in the window below this video. So now, I'll answer your questions. Okay. Well, while I give people time to catch up, several people have asked via email about hooking up with a sociopath just for the sex. In other words, if the sex is so great, why don't you just hook up for that? And I've heard from people that they've tried it and it doesn't work. It turns out that there's no such thing as just sex. Sex is a big part of human bonding, and you will bond through the sexual experience even if the sociopath doesn't. And that means that you will become connected to this person even if your plan was for it to be just sex. So it could lead to emotional, psychological, and financial and even physical issues, especially if you catch a disease. And the other thing to keep in mind is that because sex is so important to the human bonding process, when you have sex with somebody, it actually changes your brain. So if you want to have sex with somebody, I recommend that you make sure you want to change your brain for them, because that's what's going to happen. So how does all this happen? Well, one component is that there is a hormone or neurotransmitter called oxytocin, and maybe you've heard of it. I'm not talking about OxyContin, I'm talking about oxytocin. And this is a hormone and neurotransmitter that is very important in the ability of humans to trust each other and to form relationships. Now, one of the big ways that oxytocin is released in female bodies is through childbirth. And the purpose of this is to help the mother bond with the child. But another big way in which oxytocin is released is through sex. So what that means is that anytime you have sex with somebody, you are releasing oxytocin in your body, or oxytocin is flowing through your body. And this has the effect of making you trust whoever sparked the oxytocin. So if you have sex with a sociopath, even if you never intended to get all involved, it makes it so that you actually become bonded to this person and you trust him or her. And as you've probably already experienced, trusting a sociopath is not a good idea. It can get you into all kinds of trouble. But when you have all this oxytocin flowing around in your body, it's just the way we're built, the way we're designed by nature. So that's why it's so important to think really hard about whether or not you really want to get involved with somebody physically. Now, oxytocin also, it is helpful. It is helpful in forming human relationships with anybody, and it can be released through any type of intimacy. So it doesn't have to be totally sex. The hormone oxytocin is released through physical touching, through conversation, and through any type of emotional connection. So it is important, and it's the way society, it's the glue that holds society together. But it does have a downside when you get involved with someone and start to trust someone who really does not deserve your trust. So a little bit more about, oh my goodness, got a compliment here. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit more about my book. Red Flags of Love Fraud, 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath. As you can guess, I go through 10 different warning signs that you're involved with a sociopath, all of which came from my research with the Love Fraud readers. And I've already done videos about the first two, which are charisma and charm, and also sudden soulmates. So you can look back in the YouTube archives and find those videos. As we go forward, I'll be doing the rest of the 10, which will take a while because I don't necessarily do them in sequence, spread it out with other videos as well. But anyway, one point that I want to make is that, like, the many of the warning signs actually seem to be something that you would want in a partner. Like, for example, as I mentioned, the first red flag of love fraud is charisma and charm. Sudden soulmates is the second one. Today, we just talked about number 3, which is sexual magnetism. And number 4, which I'll give you a little preview, is love bombing. And you've probably heard about love bombing. That's when, somebody pours attention and affection on you and just, keeps pouring it on thick until you finally fall in love. So all of those sound pretty good. I mean, if you meet somebody who's charming and sexy and thinks you're wonderful and is says that you've been totally meant to be and you're soulmates, I mean, that sounds like someone that you would want to have a relationship with. So that's why it's important to know the other ones. Like, one of the important red flags is blames other people for everything that goes wrong in their life. They don't accept responsibility, and this is something that you're likely to see. So the bottom line is that in order for someone to kind of qualify to be a sociopath, you need to see the whole package, or you need to see, most of them. If you see somebody who, not everybody who's like charming and sexy is a sociopath, but if you see charming, sexy, love bombing, and then not accepting responsibility, blaming others for everything, then you should look and see if all the other signs are there as well. Okay, so we have a few comments. All right, so Persian doll Tarot, that's an interesting name, says there's a very popular influencer named the Wizard Liz who is 4 months pregnant with a sociopath baby she just got engaged to. He told her that he loved her after 36 hours of meeting. Yeah, well, that's another one of the red flags, is moves fast to hook up. And obviously it sounds like that's what happened there. Again, we would have to see the whole pattern of all the red flags of love fraud. But those are a few scary ones, where you meet someone and they automatically, tell you that they love you. And believe me, I have heard of that often. It happens a lot. And the reason it happens is not that the sociopaths love you, because they don't. They are fundamentally incapable of actual authentic love. But they do know that if they say the words, I love you, they get what they want. So they say them. And that's why they do it, just to get what they want. So I would say that this influencer, I don't know, we'd have to see what happens with her. I hope it's okay, but there are definitely some warning signs there. Okay, so Persian doll Tarot also says she watched videos informing. That's great. Okay. Appreciate that. All right. So looks like that's all the questions that we have for tonight. Next week, we'll be back on the Tuesday schedule. So I will see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And, feel free to come and ask any questions you want. Doesn't have to be on the topic that I discussed that day, but if you have questions on that too, of course, that's fine. So anyway, I'll see you next week, Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Good night.